had seven of us. At different times during Mom's life, we had at least 3 cousins that she raised for a period, and up to 5 foster kids, some longer term, some shorter term. So she was a mother, and that's what she was. In fact, I have a story from one of my cousins that used to stay with us, and he had a little run-in with my father, and he got a little hard-headed like we all do. And Dad took him back to Shreveport on his choice, and he told me years later, said that was the worst decision I ever made in my life. If I would just listen to Papa, he said my life would be a whole lot different. Because when he got back to Shreveport, he got back in a crowd that just brought him straight down. And well, he came to visit me years later, and he told me that. So, I mean, that's who she was. And as up here today, I'm looking at everyone here, my goodness, just the descendants that's come through, you know, it just boggles my mind sometimes. I can't even keep up with everybody. As we was going through the process, the comfort process, and later on with Mom's vigil around her, we all shared it. We was there 24 hours, and we had a group, and we were just rotating, sometimes 2, 3 there, just rotating around. And it was a very special time for us, very needed time for us and Mom. But there were times there when I was, you know, very quiet, peaceful times, and I'm waiting for Mom to wake up, move, or anything, and I started sending messages to my kids because they wanted updates. And so, you know, you go deep in your brain and you get emotional. And you know, I've always heard that real men don't cry. Read your Bible. Jesus wept. We have emotions, so it's okay. But I was going through and I was texting my kids. And I think some of the things I'm going to read today is some of the stuff that I actually sent my kids. I think I was writing what I wanted to say today before I even thought about writing it. Because it's like, I couldn't write it what I wanted to say today before Mama died, because you can't write the book when you still have the last chapter to finish. I mean, that's just the way I felt. But these are some of the things I sent to my kids. Where did I put my glasses? Oh, they want a bench. Sorry about me. Oh, yeah, I did. Left them up there. Thank you, Butch. You bailed me out again. All right, so like I said, my children wanted updates, so this is some of the things I sent to them. And this was written with the raw emotions at the time, and I don't see how I can go back and change it, because this was real stuff. So I was just sitting here with Mom tonight. I placed my hand on her arm, she puts her hand on mine, she holds on tight. Even later, she had a grip, and when she held on to you, I mean, you knew you were being held. You couldn't get your arm out. Mark will attest to that, won't you? And Nicole and everybody that was there. And I know holding her hand and the way she was holding mine, I know it gave her comfort. And that's what we was there for, comfort. So she sat with me many nights when I was younger. So I'm thinking, now is my turn. I can never come close to giving her what she gave me, you know? And as I get older, I realize that sometimes we take for granted the love that's given to us by our mothers. Maybe it's because we know it's always there no matter what we do. See, a mother's love is truly unconditional. We get very secure knowing that it will always be there, but I've been face to face with the fact the last few days that it will not always be there. But it will be in our hearts and our memories. Not the warmth of her touch or the comfort of her voice. So this is to my kids, I said, so my advice to you is to cherish each moment that you can, because it's very fleeting. You know? And I told my kids I love them all, and their mother also. But the memories that I'm making now are priceless. And then the next night I was like, okay, Mom's always perfect. But then again, we weren't always perfect children either. I know I wasn't. So, they were worried about me. I told them I got some rest this afternoon and volunteer for the night shift. I said, we were told it would be probably 7 more days. I will rest tomorrow, and I promise to take care of myself. They were really, really concerned that I wasn't getting enough rest. So I'll tell them, I said, there'll be no running with sharp knives or playing in the rain, I promise. I mean, this is wicked. So I was sitting there another night with Mom. She was awake with her eyes open. I'll tell her how beautiful she was. She said in a very weak voice, "No, I'm not." And I assured her that she was. She didn't tell me I had pretty hair. Those words are precious when that's things you'll never forget. So I think she liked the new haircut. She was in and out, but various times she would talk to me about milking the cows, just like Margaret said. Making butter, even cottage cheese. When we were talking about that, one of the nurses came in, she asked the nurse, how many cows did she have? I mean, it was just something that was always with her. And you remember that growing up, her sitting with the bucket and watching TV or whatever. So, and those are good memories. She always talked about hurting sometimes and how cold she was. Even though she kept pushing the covers off, she was talking about how cold. But those are the things I could help with. Concrete things that I can do. Little things, sure. But life is about the little things. If we wait for the big moments, life will pass us by. So enjoy the small, precious moments. And I told them this is a day late because that's what I was doing, enjoying the small, precious moments. So another one, tonight I find Mom was still and quiet. I find myself staring in the darkened room with the slightest movement of her head and arms. And you can watch the slow rising and falling of her chest, or the quilt. I dozed off for a few minutes in panic when I woke up and had to check to see if she was still breathing. The quilt that she was being used was made by my sister-in-law Bridget from Dad's shirts. It was kind of comforting to know that Dad, in his own small way, was helping keep her warm that night. This was things Mom didn't like, and this is no particular order. Cursing, back-talking, wasp, wasting food, not doing something she asked us to, hanging on her clothesline. There's a backstory in that. I'm not going to get into why I was hanging on her clothesline. I'm just saying it wasn't a pretty sight when I got caught. Talking in church. She did not like geese because they would chase her. She did not like that. Driving fast and braking too hard. She was always the right-hand driver. Sticky floors. She didn't like me drinking out the evaporated milk can. That was my milk growing up, evaporated milk, and I would go to the refrigerator and get an old can and just drink it right out the can. And that was not a good thing for her. She didn't like stealing. She didn't like making a C in any subject. And she really didn't like if you made a B or lower in conduct. The subject might be hard, but you can behave when you're in class. She didn't like us playing in mud puddles. And then I had to write more to follow. My phone just went dead. So, but these are the things that you think about when you have time to reflect on Mom when you're sitting there. And just another one. The only sound I heard from Mom tonight was her weak screams as they moved her. It hurt so much. And I wish I could bear her pain right now. She tried as hard as she could to bear our pain and mediate ours. But back then, transportation and clinics were hard to find in the 50s and 60s. And I'll say this, me and Margaret talked about this. Back when we were young, the Wingers and the Hackmans were so involved with everyone. My dad worked offshore, so a lot of times we didn't have a vehicle. We had the welding truck sometimes. But Mom would call Miss Winger or Miss Hackman, and they would bring us stuff. They would take us to the doctor. I mean, it was just like our own Uber for the church. And that's who the Wingers were. And me and Mark was telling them. They meant so much to Mom and us. But it was kind of hard. They didn't have the clinics and the medicines we had. I remember one winter night, I was very sick. We lived up the bayou, and Mom had moved me in where our heater was. We only had one heater in the house, and I was coughing so bad, really congested, couldn't breathe. And Mama brought a spoonful of sugar and put about 3 drops of kerosene in it. And that was your medicine for the croup, she called it. That's not just her, it was an old medicine they use a lot of places up in the mountains around there. But you know, the next morning I woke up and I was breathing fine. So, you know, she did what she could. It was hard to take that. It was kind of weird getting it, you know. But when I woke up this morning, I was breathing better. And, you know, as parents, we have to do with what we have sometimes. Thank you, Mom, for making miracles happen. Another one is, I'm still with Mom tonight, and it gives me time to reflect. Earlier today, Mom had her arms raising and moving in slow circles. Margaret asked her what she was doing, and she said she was washing dishes. Being a mom or dad is also doing the unheralded things. The things no one notices unless they are not done. And Mom always did these things. Alice is still dealing with habits that I developed when I was younger because of Mom. Mama did our clothes. I mean, she picked out our clothes. She did them just wherever I left them, she would do it. And a great memory has, I came home one day, this was when I was in high school, and Mama had cut a comic out of the newspaper. It was black and white, so it wasn't Sunday, it was a day of paper. And it was laying on my bed, and it was a picture of this guy in his room, and it had clothes hanging from the rafters, ceilings all over the place, just really scattered. And the caption said, "He has no hang-ups." And she could not wait for me to find that on my bed. But you know, she wouldn't have it any other way. She loved doing that, you know. And that's forever etched in my head. So, thanks, Mom, for doing the unheralded things, the things we do not think about. And then some of them are short, you know, tonight's about reflections. It feels like the life rows are totally reversed right now. I love you, Mom, but I wish I could work on your miracles. But we can't. I remember when Mom had surgeries, I was about 4. We were living behind the old Ideal Club up here. So, and we were in there, and Mom was in the hospital. And I woke up Sunday morning and had the most commotion I've ever seen in the kitchen. And my dad, who was not Mr. Chef, I will tell you, he was in there cooking pancakes for all the kids. And that was the ugliest black pancakes I've ever seen in my life. You know, he just told us to put a lot of syrup on them, eat them anyway. See, sometimes being our parent is just trying. So, thanks, Dad, for trying when Mom was sick. But to this day, if I get a burnt pancake, slightly burnt, it goes in the trash. This one tries to rescue her, but she's got to be quick. She'll tell you, they go in the trash. See, when Mom was pregnant, listen up, when Mom was pregnant with me, she developed a severe kidney infection. And she would not take her prescribed medicine because the doctor said it would be harmful on me. And she would take a half a pill or some or skip a day. She took the bare minimum. And she got me here early, but I was here. They didn't think I'd live, but I guess I proved them wrong. I'm too hard-headed. But she eventually had to have 2 kidney operations, and she actually lost a kidney. I really feel if she could have been more aggressive in treating it, she would never have lost that. But I may not be here, so. Thank you, Mom, for your sacrifice. These are just some of the many memories that I have of Mom. And, you know, a lot of them are very small things. But life is all about the countless small things. The song that my wife is about to play is called Peace Be Still. Well, I gotta back up. One thing I wanted to say. When Mama wasn't really talking too much at the end, we were playing a loop of Christian hymns very softly. Sometimes close to her bed. I got told my wife was playing too loud, they could hear him in the hallway. I really didn't care. I wanted Mom to hear them. So, but it was fun. But 2 songs, as we was playing them, and we did this 2-hour loop for quite a few times, and we had others playing too. I think Nicole tried some other music she didn't quite like as much, but there was 2 songs when it came on. She opened her mouth and opened her eyes and she was singing, or trying to sing. And but she was singing. And that was the two songs, and they were an hour apart on the tape. But that was the two songs that we sing today. So that's why we did those two songs today. But the song that Mom's about to do is called Peace Be Still. And the lyrics are on a separate sheet that you can follow along. To me, it describes the Christian life. We're going to have storms around us to knock us down. But God has given us the promise of peace and calmness. And at the very end, Mom had peace and calmness. And I know in my heart she was wrapped in the arms of God. She passed so peacefully. It was me, Margaret, and Tasha there. And we were just watching her breathe and slow down, slow down. And while we was praying, she just stopped breathing. It was as peaceful as you can imagine. So if you could follow in the words, you can sing if you want to. I am not. Y'all can sing. But song can get a little dramatic at times. But life can get a little turmoil too. So I think it's a good representation of the Christian life and of what Mama was. So thank you. I know we got kind of long, but I only have one chance with this stuff. Yes. Yes.
You talking about Dad's birthday pancakes?
Yes.
1 year, Dad went for Mom's birthday cake.
A birthday, I'll bet you.
He couldn't make it, like you said. He bought a whole bunch of little ones.
Right.
Put them on the plate.
Right.
Put them icing in the cream.
Right.
Cut around it, and then cut around with icing.
There we go.
For her birthday.
That was awesome. But you know what? He tried. He made it happen. And that's what we have to do as parents. And that's the stuff I'll send to my kids. So they'll probably forget tomorrow, but maybe not. Mom, you gotta support me one more time. Too much. Sorry about that.
Is Jewel Diener. I'm married to Lindsay, Robert's daughter, granddaughter to Miss Mary Francis, who I've always known as Mama. I've been asked to close our time this morning in prayer. But I'll share it briefly before I do that. Lindsay and I started dating not too long after Robert and Allison moved in with Mama and Papa here, their house on Full Street in the Zomans. And I have many fond memories of meals shared around Mama's table. I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to get to know her and it's been a blessing just to hear the many stories and how much she has meant to this family. Let's close in prayer this morning. I will be reading a prayer from All Things Holy. It is entitled, "Those Who Will Gather to Grieve for Me." I didn't have the opportunity to run this by Mama before she passed, but I think this is a prayer she would have prayed for you all. Minister well to those who are losing me, O Lord. I fly to the joy of your presence, where there will be neither tears nor sorrow, only an incomprehensible completeness, and a wellspring of all delight. But these I love will remain and will carry the burden of loss. Draw them into closer community, Father, nearer one another, in love and in purpose and in the unity of your Spirit. May their grief over my dying carry in it fierce seeds of eternal hope that, watered by their tears, will bloom into 1,000 living expressions of your eternal kingdom made visible in this world. Indeed, if I might leave a legacy, O Lord, let it be this: that all manifestations of your love ever extended through me in word or deed would, by the movement and promptings of your Spirit, continue to shape the hearts and beliefs and the purposes of those I loved and served in this life. And so may the fellowship of those who assemble to grieve my passing become a sharing of sorrow's burdens and a celebration of your loving faithfulness in my life, and still more, a warm recollection of the gifts we were ever intended to be to one another. If it please you, O Lord, let my leaving be as the fanning of a holy flame, encouraging them to foster richer and deeper relationships with one another, sensing anew how precious are each of their fellow pilgrims and how precious and brief are each of the hours they share in this journey. Do not let these who love me be burdened by a sadness that leads to despair, O God. Instead, let them hold in my absence a homesick ache that points ever truer toward eternity. O Christ, use my death, and after my death, use the remembrance of my life and the sorrows and joys that accompany such memory to accomplish your better purposes in the lives of those who love me. Be gentle with them, be merciful, be gracious, be sufficient, be tender, be strong. Be their sanctuary, their refuge, their comforter, their king. You, O Christ, are the great shepherd. Shepherd now these your precious people. Shepherd them through this approaching veil of sorrow. Shepherd them unto firmer hopes. Shepherd them unto greater glories. Shepherd them unto fuller joys. Amen. At this time, I invite friends and guests to exit down the center aisle past the casket out the double doors with the family to follow.